That's why you're watching this on a live stream and not on WSFA. As soon as that happens, though, when we get that first tornado warning in our area, we will go live on WSFA, and you'll be able to watch there as well. But we wanted to sort of give you a pre-first alert, if you will. We've got some big trouble lurking back to the west, some pretty intense storms. And Amanda, a rough day ongoing, and I think it's fair to kind of call it what it is. We have a tornado outbreak in progress.
Yeah, and a lot of the activity we've seen so far, Josh, has happened back into parts of now eastern Mississippi, and it's extending mostly north of the Montgomery area, even north of Birmingham. So remember, this is the northern extent of the line, and as this heads east, it's also moving north. So it is going to take a little bit more time for the southern extent and these cells that are still in central and southeast Mississippi to eventually make their way into parts of west and then central and south Alabama. So still a couple of hours of opportunity for places like Montgomery, points east and southeast to stay dry. We have the leading edge of these storm cells moving into far western Alabama, and we're keeping an eye on rotation potential. As of right now, everything is behaving, but there has been several confirmed tornadoes on the ground, not only here in North Alabama and just a little bit outside of our viewing area, but also back into Mississippi where this line is originating. So obviously cause for concern as we have an environment that is supportive of not only tornadoes, but potentially strong tornadoes. And that's why we want you to be first alert ready for the potential of these storms to roll through your area. That's right.
Now, a couple of reports so far. We know Taylorsville, Mississippi, it was hit very hard with a tornado. Belzoni, Mississippi, very hard with a tornado. Now, the National Weather Service telling us in Pickens County, tornado debris lofted to 21,000 feet. Research tells us when debris gets that high up in the sky, that's consistent with an EF3 or 4 tornado. So that's the storm, by the way, that Pickens County storm. That's the one that's now up here in Cullman County. Then we have an additional storm that just came out of Pickens. So 2 active tornadoes on the ground now. This one is in North Alabama. This would be just south of Cullman. There's Hanceville right there. Wallace State sits right here. This is Interstate 65, US 31, running north and south. This is Blount County. This is Cullman County. This is Jefferson County. This is Walker County. So you've got a tornado on the ground now, getting ready to cross I-65 just north of Birmingham. This is coming into the south side of Cullman. That would be around mile marker 300 or so. You get up into Cullman, and that's where you get up into the exits there, the main exits. That's 157 headed back off towards Muscle Shoals. Then you've got 278 that takes you to Holly Pond and back over into Sneed and eventually Gadsden. This is going to keep moving northeast, so Hanceville, Cullman, Holly Pond, Baileyton. If I've called out a community that you have family or friends in, let them know, right? This is that kind of day where we're going to enlist you to help us get the word out. We need you to help us reach as many people as possible. We also have an additional tornado on the ground back to the west. This one into parts of Fayette, northern Tuscaloosa County. You see it here, south of downtown Fayette. This one's rain wrapped pretty big. So we'll switch over to the rotation. This is not the strongest signature we've seen, but still, on a day like today, just respect it because it could cycle back up at any moment now. Yeah, Amanda showed me the National Weather Service saying looks like it could be decoupling now. So that means it's sort of spun itself out. Typically, these storms, though, tend to cycle back up. Yeah, and in an environment like this, they're definitely going to be in a area, particularly that's north of us now, that just like from Huntsville to Mobile and everywhere in between, where we have the opportunity, this is going to be equal playing field for everyone today. So when we see these storms that show us that they are not only capable of producing tornadoes, but producing damage, and we all have the same environment with all the severe weather ingredients needed, we need to keep an eye on every single cell in particular. But for us, a lot of what's happening north of us, yes, is obviously impactful. We might have friends and family who live there. They're dealing with that. Those are not the storms, though, that are going to be crossing into our neck of the woods. And Josh, it's down here into southeast Mississippi that will watch these cells right here. This will be gradually lifting into our west and southwest Alabama counties as this also moves east. So this is not just a west to east situation. This is more of a southwest to northeast. So you can see that, yes, the leading edge obviously is pointing northeast. So a lot of people saying, oh, look, it's staying north of us in Birmingham. That means we're not seeing anything. Our storms are going to be making their way through our area later on throughout the rest of this evening. And it's this batch of activity. And along this, multiple cells have shown already confirmed tornadoes on the ground. So this is the environment that we have and share with Birmingham. So you see they have multiple confirmed tornadoes on the ground. And eventually, as this moves into our area, we too could also have a similar situation. Yeah, I was actually just texting with my friend friend Greg Nordstrom. He's an instructor at Mississippi State and a kind of severe weather expert, and we were talking about, you know, where we are in Montgomery is sort of uniquely situated. You know, we have a wide open warm sector all day today. We're in the 80s. It hasn't rained a drop in most of our area yet. That atmosphere is pristine in terms of producing tornadoes. So as these storms in Mississippi and Louisiana move north and northeast and get into our area, we're going to start to see that move in. I know, I get it. We've been talking about this day for 6 days now. It's 5:15, and a lot of you are saying, what happened? Where's the severe weather? We've told you all along we think this is an afternoon, evening, and overnight threat here. Now, so far so good this afternoon. A lot of the initial wave is just north of us, but we're getting now into a critical window here. I think in the next hour and a half, we're going to start to see more storms fill in Mississippi. And I also think these down here across parts of Wilcox, Marengo, Clark, these storms right here, as they move more towards the northeast, I think we've got to keep a close eye on those. In Perry and Dallas, Autauga and Chilton counties, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. Those start to rotate a little as well. So that's kind of what in the weather world we call a nowcast, when we look at everything that's happening right now and project it forward a little. To project it forward more, I want to bring in meteorologist Nick Gunner. Nick is a longtime veteran of these sorts of situations, working in Meridian and Tupelo and Memphis. Nick, you've seen it all, been around the block. What's your take on how this unfolds over the next few hours?
Well, as we look at first alert by hour, we want to walk you through hour by hour when we could see storms in your neighborhood to give you the earliest first alert to what is coming next. So let's go ahead and go into motion, go forward in time now. I'm stopping this as we head toward 8 o'clock tonight because that batch of showers and thunderstorms that's currently ongoing over in Mississippi and down towards South Mississippi continues to work its way into our western counties first, and then eventually march toward the east as the night wears on. So here's the latest data at 8 o'clock tonight. Starting to see clusters of showers and storms from Camden up toward Marion, Clanton, Montgomery, down toward Greenville, and that continues to work its way off toward the east as we head toward 10 o'clock tonight. Showers and storms from Alex City still ongoing in Montgomery, down toward Greenville, Evergreen, and along the Interstate 65 corridor there south of Montgomery. Now, as we move forward toward midnight, you can see more showers and storms starting to make their way into the eastern half of our state, up toward Alexander City, down toward Union Springs and Troy, and then eventually it moves closer to the Chattahoochee River Valley here in portions of East Alabama and West Georgia as this line of showers and storms moves toward Phoenix City and down toward Eufaula, eventually pushing out of the Wiregrass region as we head throughout the overnight and into the early morning hours on Sunday. So trying to walk this through hour by hour. One thing to keep in mind, we'll head towards sunset as we head towards 7 o'clock tonight. It'll start to get dark and you will not be able to see any of this outside your door. So you're going to want to make sure you have those multiple reliable ways to get watches and warnings. And I'll go ahead and pull up that graphic here real quickly. I know we've reiterated this a lot over the past several days, but it's just so important to remember to make sure you have the NOAA weather radio working and ready to go. If you're looking for a way or you're trying to figure out a way, how do I make sure my weather radio is working and specified for my location? You can go to WSFA.com or wherever you're streaming us right now on the networks of WSFA Plus. That way you can see a video that actually walks through how you can make sure your NOAA weather radio is working for you. And then also the free First Alert Weather app. That is a fantastic tool to have. You can get the latest information from our team of meteorologists here at WSFA 12 News and updated radar scans in the palm of your hand. You can stream us live there as well. So if you end up losing power, that way you can get the latest information there. Make sure your devices are charged up now. Go ahead and find the charger, plug it in. Make sure your phones are at 100%, your tablet too, so you can have that power for that device throughout the event. Do not rely on those outdoor weather sirens. Hence the term outdoor. That's made for people outside. You will not hear that if you're inside your home. And then social media. Post a warning on social media. You could see it 3 or 4 days later. So not the best way to get those watches and warnings. And let's go ahead and go through what's happening with this watch. We have it for many counties here in central and south Alabama, mainly for the river region and points west. So this includes us here in Montgomery, down to Conecuh, over toward Marengo and Coosa. We'll likely see this watch expanded off into portions of East Alabama as the night wears on. So even if you're in Lee or Bullock or Barber and you're not under this watch right now, you will likely be added as we move closer to 8 o'clock. That is when this watch is set to expire. So just a lot of information ongoing. We're still watching those showers and storms. That's ongoing there in portions of Mississippi. They're continuing to track into the state of Alabama as we speak. So something we're going to watch how these storms develop over the next several hours as they move into this volatile atmosphere that we've been talking about for the past several days. And we'll, of course, track it minute by minute, hour by hour as it goes into this volatile atmosphere. Josh and Amanda.
Yeah, and speaking of that volatile atmosphere, Nick, the Storm Prediction Center in a recent mesoscale discussion used, these are some of the harshest phrases we hear. The Storm Prediction Center, they're weather geeks. I'm going to say it like it is. They're really pretty laid back, low-key people. Multiple supercells capable of intense to potentially violent tornadoes to persist into the evening across East Mississippi and into West Alabama. So when they start using language like that that's really strong, it definitely gets our attention.
New tornado warning. That's going to be just to the north of Demopolis.
Yeah, by the way, heads up northern Perry County. I think that rotation will stay just north of Marengo, but the way it's tracking, I think Amanda's right on the money. This is eventually going to end up over here in southern Greene, southern Hale, and northern Perry County. Now, Perry County is in the Montgomery television market, so if they go under a tornado warning, we will be live on WSFA. Otherwise, we will continue just tracking it here on the live stream. But that storm, that's in a favorable place, too. The way this is all kind of structured right now, you're getting probably some outflow from that would probably locally enhance the shear and maybe back the winds around a little more to the southeast. So really got to watch that storm. That one will end up in southern Greene, southern Hale. We'll watch northern Marengo. I think it goes north of Demopolis, but it's a really close call. The other thing for Demopolis, there's a whole lot more storms down south of that one. These could all start rotating at any moment now. So for Demopolis, this is going to be, for Demopolis, now through about 7:30 is really the critical time in this. So that's where we are with that storm. That's one of the only active tornado warnings in the state. There are a couple of others up here in North Alabama. There's this one in Cullman County. That's a confirmed tornado still. That's up near Baileyton in the northeastern part of Cullman County. So that possible tornado, it was confirmed earlier. It looks like they've redrawn the polygon to make it more radar indicated. Possible tornado there coming up towards Baileyton. That will cross on over into parts of Morgan County over into Marshall County and Morgan County, and then you've got tornado warning for Florence as well up in the shoals. So none of these are in the Montgomery TV market. That's why we're streaming live now, not on television, but Cullman County and then up into the shoals, a couple of tornado warnings there, and then we've got the one down south. So that's where we are. The atmosphere over the state right now is just primed. When we say that, what do we mean? It's very humid outside. It's very warm. Temperatures have surged all the way up into the upper 70s and low 80s. Those dew point numbers are rising, especially in West Alabama. And that's why the risk is higher out there in the western sections. This is the updated Storm Prediction Center map for today. The purple is a level 5 risk. The red is a level 4 risk. If you're in either one of those, you have a significant severe weather risk today that you need to be paying attention to. And those are both big numbers. So what we will be watching specifically, and I know a lot of you kind of watching along with us, what happens with these storms ahead of the line. This axis of storms here is about to come through a lot of our northernmost counties, and then you've got these big supercells firing down here along the Louisiana coast. Those are going to come right up through south central Alabama. So bottom line, a lot of you watching this in the southern half of Alabama today, nothing's happened. That was not unexpected, by the way. We thought that would be the case. But this is going to go downhill very quickly. Over the next 10 hours or so, this entire thing slides across Alabama. We expect multiple tornadoes, some of them strong. you will need multiple reliable ways of getting weather warnings and a plan for where you'll go if a tornado threatens.
Yeah, and for those who have been commenting on our Facebook streams, a lot of people have been saying, well, where is my tornado safe place? So that might look different depending on where you live. If you are in a mobile home, that is not the safest place for you to be. That's why we've posted multiple resources on our website for open tornado shelters. You might want to find a family member, a friend that you can stay with who lives in a site-built home. A site-built home is one that is built on a slab or a concrete foundation. And then inside of that home, you want to try to find the most interior room, closet, hallway as possible. You want to try to put as much space in between you and the exterior walls. You go to the lowest level. You don't want to be on the second, third story of a building. So that leads us to apartments. A lot of people have been saying, I live in an apartment. I'm on the second or third or fourth story. What do I do? We kind of joke sometimes, maybe make friends with your neighbor on the first floor. There are also going to be community shelters across all of Central and South Alabama. A county by county breakdown of where those are listed on WSFA.com right now. So if you feel like you are not in a place that is going to be the safest for you, then we highly recommend going onto our website, going to find what county you live in or where you'll be tonight, and hopefully finding a safer place to go. We want to toss things over to meteorologist Nick Gunner. He is over in the other side of the studio, and he actually has a graphic that shows a great visual representation of what is the safe place in your house. Highlighted in green, Nick, those are some of the good spots you want to find tonight.
Yeah, you were talking about that, and I was like, we have the perfect graphic for it to visually show you where you need to go, where is the best place for you to go to be ready for these impending storms. You see the green here. We have interior rooms like a hallway or a staircase, maybe underneath the staircase, bathroom. You want to go into those places that don't have windows. Of course, if you are one of the lucky ones that has a basement, the basement is, of course, the best place for you to go. But you need to avoid these areas, avoid windows, doors, and outside walls. You use helmets to protect your head and neck. That is the most vulnerable part of your body. And the safest place to be, of course, is a basement. I know not everyone has a basement. So if you have those interior hallways or bathrooms with no windows, maybe a closet, or of course those stairs, that would be a great place for you to go, especially if you're in that site-built home. So just a visual way. I know people take information differently. Some are visual learners, some like the text written out for you. And so this is a great interpretation of what Amanda was just talking about having all of the best place to go. And as mentioned, if you live in an apartment in the upper floor, it's not a bad idea to make friends with your neighbors to get to that lowest level apartment if you're able to do so, leading up to this storm threat that we're currently watching very closely here in the Vance Law Firm Storm Track Zone. So let's go ahead and go back to First Alert Doppler radar and show you the latest information coming out of it. We have this great mode called First Alert mode, so you can find out more information. And we're still watching these storms pretty closely here in portions of West Alabama. Of course, this tornado warning just outside our coverage area actually belongs to this county, to our sister station over in Meridian, Mississippi, Sumter County. But a lot of people have friends, family, maybe go to the University of West Alabama there in Livingston. And so here's the latest information. This tornado warned storm is a radar indicated. So that means the Doppler radar itself is indicating that there's enough rotation within the storm cell that it could be producing a tornado. Of course, we're getting into that West Alabama radar gap in that part. So these radar beams are hitting up a little bit higher into the storm cell itself. So that's why they're saying radar indicated at this time. And it lasts until about 6 o'clock, until the top of the hour here. That's how long this tornado warned storm goes. If they end up extending it, it would go into Greene County. And as Josh mentioned a little bit earlier, we'll have to watch out if for northern Perry, where this extent could go for that storm cell. But they're just lining up. We're seeing multiple severe thunderstorm warnings down south of Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and in portions of Louisiana. These storms are very scattered in nature, lots of clusters here or there. So definitely something we're watching how that plays out when it moves into that very unstable atmosphere that we're currently seeing here in portions of Alabama. If you went outside at all today, you probably felt the warmth because it was a warm and breezy day outside. And so that just adds fuel to the fire for these storms as they interact with that volatile atmosphere and eventually push into our state. So that's why we've literally been giving you the first alert ever since last Sunday that we've been watching this day very closely, and it does look as if these storms are interacting with that volatile atmosphere and producing some strong to severe storms. I know we've heard of a lot of damage over in the state of Mississippi, and that is what is all heading our way. So really all eyes are on what's next, Josh and Amanda, that's down in South Mississippi as it makes its way into western Alabama.
Yeah, and speaking of damage, a couple of reports to pass along now. Several houses with significant damage and possible injuries in Walker County. It's raining debris in Berry, that's in Fayette County. All this is in North Alabama. It's hailing now in Livingston. And the Argo Fire Department is being dispatched to assist the Sipsey Fire Department. That's up in Walker County. So that's from those clusters of storms there, by the way, north of Birmingham. So in case you're just joining us, it's now almost 5:30. I'm Josh Johnson. This is Amanda Curran. That was Nick Gunner. Meteorologist Madeline Banks in the back sending you out updates on the WSFA First Alert Weather app. We have the live stream that we do. We also produce app videos pretty regularly there. Where's that, Amanda? Amanda's got a photo just in. Looks like a pretty large tornado.
It says
Sipsey.
Walker County. Yeah, that's it.
From the Piggly Wiggly parking lot in Dora, we also have another one of the leading edge of that storm earlier.
It always
That's
goes
also
down at the
Walker
Piggly
County.
Wiggly parking lot. That's where it always happens.
What, 72-22, 78-22?
Mm-hmm. So, tornado outbreak in progress. It is worst in North Alabama. Looks like we've got another. They've reconfirmed that one, looks like. Check that out. Let's go up here. We'll switch over to the Birmingham radar, give us a little better look in. It's for that storm there. That's coming out of Coleman County, and that's going to affect parts of southeastern Morgan County and then central and northwestern Marshall County. So this is northwest of Albertville, northwest of Boaz, southeast of Huntsville. So if you have family or friends up here in North Alabama, coming out of Coleman County, heading up towards the northwest side of Gunnersville, if they live along 431 between Lake Gunnersville and the southeast side of Huntsville. So really from around Owens Crossroads, the RTJ golf course up there, south along 431, all the way back down past the lake and into downtown Gunnersville. Get in, if you have family or friends up there, they need to get in that safe place. You can text them, call them, email them, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever you do to get in touch with them. Let them know this is a serious storm. They don't need to mess around with this. It's on the ground right now. There you see it, yeah. So there is your confirmed tornado there, very close to Baileyton. That's in the northeastern corner of Coleman County. So this will keep moving northeast. This will pass a little south of Eva. That's Falkville and Hartselle right over there. That would be around exit 334 for Decatur. And this would be back down towards Coleman, exit 310. So this is all a little east of Interstate 65 now, up in the northern sections of the state. Then we also still have the tornado warning out west. This one is for Sumter County. This does include the city of Livingston. We're out there in that part of the state where the radar coverage is not any good in the lowest level, so it's hard to really get terribly specific. But if we have a tornado, I would argue it's probably right there southeast of downtown Livingston. That's York, that's Cuba. There's a big timber operation right there. That's exit 1 off of Interstate 2059. This is moving northeast, really more towards Greene and Hale than Marengo. But if you're in Marengo, you've got an entire cluster of these storms lined up west of you that's going to come on through. So Linden, Demopolis, Thomaston, Jefferson, get ready. The weather goes downhill in a big way over the course of the next hour. If you live elsewhere, we're starting to see a few showers and storms pop ahead of this into parts of Montgomery, Pike, and Bullock. These are right now just sort of downpours. These are not strong enough storms to access all of the wind shear in that tornado environment, but they're there. We'll watch them. But we firmly believe we're watching these with one eye, and then every other eye is back here, because we think that's where our problems are going to sort of arise from, is back off to the southwest. I really wish we would see this become a lot more linear than it is. Right now, we're still just getting these sort of multicellular messes, and then we get these, like that's a giant supercell down there near Slidell, Louisiana right now. Zoom you not there. Go into here. Just sort of look at the broader composite.
Yeah, and as these come off the coast, they're moving into an environment that definitely is going to be ripe and ready for them. This has not been overworked by a lot of rain just yet. There's really nothing that these storms are going to be battling with as they head a little bit farther off towards the east and the northeast. So it is still going to take some time for our friends in southwest Alabama. You have a little bit of clutter right here, none of that severe at this moment, but we'll watch to see if any of that gains momentum and builds a little bit of intensity. A lot of this line, though, still you're seeing these little bursts and pockets. It's not a full wall itself. Yes, it's all kind of connected, but it's the individual pockets of storms in particular. And when that happens, you get this more singular cell style versus a linear line. So that's kind of the explanation behind that. People go, what's the difference between supercells and linear? Linear is something we've seen a lot of this severe weather season. We see a big line of showers and storms. They are all very much connected. You get 30 to 45 minutes of heavy rain, damaging wind, some small little pockets of rotation. What we're seeing is, yes, this is all connected, but there's gaps in between, showing that these singular cells are able to be in an environment by themselves where they're not battling with much. We have not just some of the ingredients, we have all the ingredients needed to help these storms reach their full potential. And as that happens, you don't have a line that is all trying to overwork the atmosphere at the same time. You have these individual cells that are able to thrive in an environment, and that's why we've seen especially the northern extent of this line so far. And that's really where that high risk has been drawn, right over west central Alabama, pushing off towards the north, and that's where most of the tornado warnings we've seen so far today have been. But remember, you don't have to necessarily be just in the highest risk. This is still a significant severe weather threat for the remaining parts of Alabama. That includes the northeast corner and the east and southeastern portion of the area that we at WSFA cover. So that's where we've seen that axis of rotation with those supercells by themselves. But I think there will be more, Josh, coming in from coastal Louisiana, Mississippi, moving into an environment where very favorable development will happen. And we still have that level 4 out of 5 risk, where I think these storms are definitely going to move into a place where it's been dry all day, it's been sunny, it's been really warm. We have the low 80s for some spots, dew points in the upper 60s. These are things that are calling cards that definitely help storms not only form, but also build momentum and then continue to hold on to their power. So that's why when we give you that tornado watch inside of your First Alert Weather app, some people have been asking, what's the difference between a tornado watch and a PDS, or a particularly dangerous situation? When a PDS tornado watch is issued, that means we're not talking low-end EF1, EF0 tornadoes. While those are very impactful, we're talking a little bit more of the stronger, long-lived variety. That's why we need you to be prepared for that. While everyone across the state of Alabama will not see a tornado tonight, I think most of you won't see a tornado, but the opportunity exists for every square inch of Alabama as the environment is going to be ripe and ready. Josh is looking at some stuff. What direction is the wind coming in from right now? I know it's been a breezy day.
South-southeast.
Okay.
Kind of almost due south now at Montgomery. Interestingly, the Montgomery dew point is still 59.
That's pretty low.
That's low.
Not
if there's a limiter to this, it might be that. But the problem is, down at Greenville already, it's up to 64. Enterprise 64. Down at Florala, it's 66. So the dew point is beginning to come up ahead of the storms, and the problem here is, for central Alabama, these storms lagging back, that's just going to give us more time to advect more of that warm, muggy air in. So, this is really, I think, going to be a pretty tough evening for a lot of us. The timing on this still, now through about 3 o'clock tomorrow morning is where we are. New tornado warning in Winston County. How about that? That's up on the northwest side of Birmingham, just so you know. They canceled Sumter. I saw that.
Yep.
Yeah, that was good. So you've got the active tornado warnings up near the Shoals. Then you've got that one for Winston County. That actually goes up into parts of Morgan as well. Then you've got the Shoals, the Morgan County one, and then this one that heads up into Marshall. Sumter's been, they canceled that one. That one not rotating as much anymore. So that's where we are now. This is in Alabama now, though. For those of you in central Alabama, we have storms, active storms ongoing now. I'll switch over to the Birmingham radar. Probably still gives us our best look in out west there. So storming now west of Selma, Marion, Demopolis, Linden, all the way back down into southwest Alabama. We anticipate these storms will, as they move into that increasingly warm, muggy environment, they'll strengthen, they'll rotate, and we will deal with sort of, I think, continuous tornado threats. Now, one thing to talk about on this is a scary day, right? It's a level 5 risk, I've heard so many people talking about it. Even on level 5 days, even on big days, most of you are not going to have a tornado today, right? You need to be paying attention because some of you will, but this is not a thing where there's just going to be tornado, 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 tornado for everyone. For a lot of you, it rains hard, there's thunder, there's lightning, there's gusty wind, it's scary, and then a couple of hours later, it's all gone. So for those of you with storm anxiety, take a breath. We've got this, you've got this. We've been talking about this for days. If you have multiple reliable ways of getting weather alerts and a plan for where you'll go in the event of a tornado, you're going to be fine. SIPSI, several houses with considerable damage, some leveled. That's coming up from northwest Alabama. That's up near the SIPSI Wilderness, up into Walker and Winston counties. So that's where we are as of 5:39 now. This is a live stream you're watching on the digital side of WSFA 12 News. That's Amanda Curran. I'm Josh. Nick's right over there. Madeline's in the back feeding information into the WSFA First Alert weather app. We've got an entire crew in the back ready to go, keeping you up to date about what all's happening around here with these active storms on the prowl. This is the beginning of this. And frankly, this is kind of the pre-beginning of this. We really haven't wound this up yet in our part of the state, but we think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, the environment ahead of these storms has proven, especially in North Alabama, that there have been considerable, not only just tornadoes, but strong tornadoes.
Right.
The evidence coming in now of the aftermath of what's happened shows that the environment is definitely supporting not only tornadoes to potentially form, but to potentially be long-lived. We've seen many of them track from Mississippi now into North Alabama. And now as we see the leading edge of this line move into our environment, very similar to what we see just to our friends off towards the north of us, we are going to have to be prepared and ready for y'all to move. While there's no active severe weather threat, we do have tons of heavy rain now moving in across parts of Dallas, Perry, Marengo County. Heaviest of the rain has moved to the western and northern side of Demopolis, but even more of that back off towards the south and west will eventually kind of encompass the rest of the county. Our friends in Linden, you'll have that coming near you soon. And then more of that even down into parts of southeast Mississippi and Louisiana. Those will continue to move off towards the north and east. So if you're looking at radar and you see a lot of activity in the northern half of the state, that's not the part of the system that's impacting us. It's what is still to come. That line obviously goes a little bit more southwest to northeast, and as it pulls off towards the north and east, this will start to drag into our area, while all of this will continue to move off north with the system. So while yes, our friends in North Alabama are dealing kind of with the brunt of it right now, our real storm threat is still starting to blossom and build up, and I think that those are going to start to really roll on into our area, making it not only an evening but an overnight threat for us, which is something that we highly recommend, that you have multiple reliable ways of getting weather information. Obviously, we don't want everybody in Alabama to have a sleepless night. I know storm anxiety, a big thing, a topic of a conversation recently, as obviously a lot of you at home have experienced some kind of severe weather. Some maybe have had damage, have had situations where you've been impacted by a tornado. So obviously those things and emotions kind of run high. Right. But we're here to kind of be the voice to tell you where things are, where they're going, and hopefully the days and the hours leading up, giving you advice on things you can do to prepare yourself. Hopefully you've already done a lot of those things, but those are things that you need to continue to think about. So you can maybe try to get a couple hours of sleep before these storms roll through your area.
Right. And if you live in a mobile or manufactured home, we've talked a lot about how you need to be out of it. These storms are still back to the west. You still have time. Go spend the night at Grandma's house. Go spend the night with Uncle Tom or Aunt Frances or whoever. And it doesn't have to be some stressful thing. If you have kids, you know, bring the kids, unplug their Xbox, bring it with you. Bring some video games, bring some board games. Make it a family thing. Designate someone to pay attention to the weather. Have that alert system in play, and then just go. And you don't have to evacuate Alabama. You don't have to go to Fort Knox. If you have a family member or friend who lives in a site-built home, just standard stick construction on a slab, crawl space, doesn't matter, that is going to be a much better choice for you and your family than staying in your mobile to manufactured home. And on a night like tonight, these storms are going to be moving very quickly. They're going to be everywhere. There's storms, they'll be scattered all around, and I don't feel comfortable for a lot of you waiting until a tornado warning is issued. Now look, if you live in a mobile home and you've got a storm shelter in your backyard, that's different. Stay at home, by all means. But if it takes you 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes to get up and get out of your mobile home and get to the shelter, why not just go ahead and do it now? The sun's still out, it's daylight, it's not pouring rain, you're not stressed out. Because I promise, if you try to do this in the middle of the night, there's thunder, there's lightning, there's gusty wind, it's scary, the kids are crying, you're upset. That opens up so many bad possibilities, right? You could get in a wreck on the way. You could drive into a different storm. Do it now. If you do it now, there's nothing out there right now. It's wide open real estate, right? There's some rain in some of the western counties, but in no county in our service area is there any sort of active severe weather threat. But you are running out of time. This has moved in, I think, as slow or maybe even a little slower than we might have expected. So if anything, you've gotten a little reprieve. You've gotten away with it a little bit so far, but the time is coming. This is coming out of Mississippi. It's not if, it is when, and the when is soon.
Yeah, and for some of you, it's going to be sooner rather than later. So our west and southwestern Alabama counties, you will obviously get this line of activity and these clusters of storms first. But I definitely think the farther east and southeast you live, after a very quiet, calm day, very easy to let your guard down and say, oh, no, it's fine. You know, a lot of the activity is happening in Birmingham. We have the same environment, the same ingredients needed. I will say a lot of these storms have lost a little bit of momentum. That's good news, but it doesn't mean that's something that will continue. We have a lot of warmth. We have a lot of muggy air, so we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on that. And starting in west and
filling
south,
in a little bit down there.
Yeah, southwest Alabama, these are the clusters of storms I would be concerned about potentially building momentum the next 30 minutes to an hour as they move off towards the north and east. So places like Clark, Monroe, Wilcox, Dallas County, there's some rain that's starting to build, and we'll have to definitely keep an eye on radar trends to see what these storms do. They're not really battling a big line of activity. A lot of these are going to be kind of in their own spaces. Yes, they're close together, but they're not right on top of each other. So I do think that as this moves into a favorable environment, this cluster will not have to be battling with everything that's back here.
Right. And you sort of start to see look, that shape,
yep,
that shape, that shape, that shape. I suspect as these things become more vertically intense and the updrafts strengthen, you're probably going to start to see these become more discrete. And I think we'll have to deal with this too. But I suspect before that gets here, we're probably going to start to see some problem areas in a lot of the counties Amanda just mentioned, right down in here. I think you're going to start to see this fill in a little bit, and some of these storms will become the dominant storm, and you'll start to see some rotation, and you may even start to see some tornadic development down here into Wilcox, Monroe, Conecuh, Escambia, Mobile, Baldwin, Clark, Choctaw, Washington. So this is going to be a mess, is the not so delicate way to put it. All right, it's now 5:46. We have a 6 o'clock newscast that's coming up in a little under 15 minutes. Now, from a technical standpoint, we need to get our ducks in a row for that. We need to go do some analysis, update our maps on the weather side, and then get the control room turned over and ready to do a newscast. So we are going to step off the live stream momentarily to go do that. We're not going anywhere. If we see anything threatening, we'll pop right back on. And by the way, we're going to pop right back on in 14 minutes too. When WSFA 12 News at 6 begins, we will stream it. So wherever you're watching this, you'll be able to watch the live stream at 6 o'clock for the news that'll come on there. That newscast will go as long as it goes, and then eventually we will end up in either severe weather coverage or come back on the live stream. But we're not going away. We're not going anywhere. We're just going to get our ducks in a row. And so for now, we will toss you back to whatever you're doing before you started streaming this. We'll be back in about 13 minutes with an update on WSFA 12 News at 6.